Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, thank you so much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode 1001. Oh, my goodness. Well, everybody, we are very excited to have you today. We are interviewing a young lady from Montana talking about why she switched over to raising miniature Angus cattle and how that has helped her to direct market beef to people in towns like Bozeman. The sign right above me, or the flag right above me, Montana State University there in Bozeman. It was really cool to interview her and hear how she's doing something a little bit different from the traditional cattle ranching up in Montana. We're very excited to bring that to you, and we'll be introducing you to Miss Laney Jones here right now. Laney, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it is my pleasure. I love speaking with people in Montana. You can probably see right above my head, I've got some Montana pride going on.
Yes, I'm really glad it's MSU and not the Grizz. You know, there's a big rivalry here.
Oh, I am well aware of the rivalry. And I live in Idaho now, and way too many people, when I tell them I went to college in Montana, they always think that I went to the University of Montana. And I say, no, I did not do that. I didn't even go to that campus. You got to have pride in the Bobcats. So,
Oh, yeah.
and you're an ag student, so I am not surprised. So that is great. Okay, so let's talk about you a little bit. We're going to talk all about your SAE and your business and all of that coming up here in a second. But let's talk about you. Where are you sitting right now?
I am at the Miles City District High School. Where I'm at in the egg shop.
Okay, so Miles City, Montana, over in the eastern part of the state. And have you grown up there? Have you spent your entire life over there in Miles City?
Yep, born and raised.
Very cool. Man, I love Montana. And, Western Montana gets a ton of attention, but I love it over on your side of the state.
Yeah, me too. It's, the weather can be a little touchy, but right now we're having a beautiful winter. Like, no snow, really nice weather, like sweatshirt weather, and it's just,
Yeah, we're having that same kind of winter where I'm at in Idaho. It's been really warm. Actually, we were kind of complaining about it earlier today. No snow. It's been super warm. It's just mud. When I go out and feed cows every day, I am just trudging through mud, just constant mud. I don't know if you're dealing with that at home.
No, we're dry here, actually. We don't even really need the muck boots. I could wear my cowgirl boots out to feed and everything, but that's what we're worried about, like snow. We're worried about moisture for the spring, but it's a nice winter so far.
Okay. Well, tell us about your home. So do you live on a farm or a ranch or in town or something in the middle of those two?
I live 12 miles south of town, kind of towards Broadus. I've lived there basically for my whole life. We do some farming and a lot of ranching there. That's where I've grown up my whole life, but yeah.
Okay, very cool. I have been to Broadus on my way spring break from Montana State University. We went to Deadwood, South Dakota, and to Mount Rushmore, and I went right through that area. So, yeah. Like I said, I like your part of the state. How long have you been involved in the FFA?
For FFA, so this will be my third year in the FFA program.
Okay, and you're a sophomore in high school right now, is that right?
Junior.
A junior. Okay, sorry about that. And so what brought you in? Why did you join the FFA?
Well, I'm an egg kid. My dad was a former state officer, and he was like, you need to do this, and I want to go into the egg sector after college and everything. So I was like, well, if I want to go into a college or an egg-based college, I need to get into the egg program. And plus, there's just so many opportunities through like the chapter in FFA itself. Like you learn so much new stuff, and you get all these opportunities to go to all these contests and travel to like all these different places and meet new people. It's just really hard for me to pass up.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I'm happy for you. And you can have a ton of great experiences in the FFA, can't you?
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. Like we go to, this year it's been kind of a weird year, but so far we've been able to have in-person districts. We'll have two of them for spring districts, and then state will be coming up, and then we had some online contests like J Days and some online livestock judgings. So they're trying to make it work, but in those normal years, those trips are really something you can't place. They're fun.
Yeah, that is great. Well, good for you. I'm happy to hear that, and it's wonderful you're getting to do some in-person competitions. That's something that we're working towards here in Idaho. But great that you're getting to do that over in Miles City. Okay, so you're serving now as the parliamentarian. Did I get that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So what does that entail? Tell everybody what it means to be parliamentarian.
For parliamentarian, basically, like during a meeting, you sit by the Robert's Rules of Order, and you like if they have a question on parliamentary procedure, like how to run a meeting, then they ask you, and you're the one to know about what's going on in the meeting. You also keep track of, for our chapter, I keep track of points. So for each contest a person goes to, they get so many points, and if they place, they also get so many points, and you have to have like 3 or 4,000 points by your junior senior year, and you get to go to nationals if you or you get to go to a competition or some I don't remember where, but
Okay.
you get to go on a trip, I guess, if you reach the points. So
That is great. Have you done any competition when it comes to parliamentary procedure yet?
yes, I'm on the Parley Pro team too. My little sister's the president. But we have just gone to districts. It was, I think, a couple weeks ago, and we're going to state for that. So that'll be fun. But that's just about it. We've been a lot of practices and stuff.
Very cool. Well, that's fun. I've watched that competition at the national convention, and it is mind blowing what you guys can do when you're on those teams. It's really really fun to watch. Okay.
Especially at that pace and everything.
Oh, at that pace, it's unreal. I don't even understand how it's possible. Yeah,
Wow.
it's really really cool. Well, let's do this. I always love to acknowledge our FFA advisors here on the show. You have two at your chapter, is that correct?
Yeah, so right now, well, we really have three. Mr. Rabine is at the high school, and then Mr. Morgan helps out. He's the welding teacher here. And then also Mr. Isaacs, we have now started a junior high program to go with the chapter. So he's over at the junior high doing that. So really
Okay.
got three.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for acknowledging all of them. And let's talk about your supervised agricultural experience. So, what have you been doing?
So I'll tell you a little bit how I got started into it. Is that okay?
That's great.
Okay. So I take steers and 4-H, and I also raise cattle. You know, I live on a ranch and everything. My family has their own herd. So every year I would feed out and butcher regular sized steers
Hmm.
and sell it to people local. And my uncle lives in Bozeman. His name is Reed. Um, well, the portions there, like he was asking us to split the whole beef into eighths, and after a half you have to split everything and like count it out, and it just gets messy after a while. So I
Yep.
was like, well, I'd heard, you go to Nile at the livestock judgings and you see the miniature cattle, and I was like, that'd be kind of interesting to like try it out. And so I kind of did some research and talked to a couple people, and I was like, hey, what is their carcass, what are their cutabilities and everything, like what are their weights, and just gathering intel and stuff. um And so I ended up buying three my first year, and just to make it easier for like my customers and everything, a more handleable product, I guess, because
Okay.
they don't have and like the steaks are smaller. They're like 6 or 7 inches, like around, instead of a big old steak.
Hmm.
And they still got the thickness and everything that you like. It's still the nice cutability. They still feed out really nice. But like their ending weights are like my first year were the heaviest was 810 pounds at finish,
And that was a live weight,
and that was a live weight.
because that can be the hanging weight on some steers.
Yes, and yeah, and they're so much fun. My first year I got them from Carlina Quinn, and I had one named Beefcake. He was wide and like he was crazy, just built. And I ended up halter breaking two of the three and taking the fair. Just has something to show, and their demeanors are so funny. They're like, have you ever been around pigs and stuff?
Yeah.
They're kind of like that. They're like playful and they like to run and buck, and it's just so funny. So that's how they were. But it ended up doing really well, and Reed and his other buddies and everything really liked it up there. So last year I ended up buying six of them. Yeah, six of them.
Okay.
And we just got them delivered in November. We delivered them up there. Um, and I had a guy, one of the customers, texted me the other day, and he said, "Oh my God, we just ate a steak out of there. Best thing I've had in a really long time." So I was really happy about that.
Okay.
And this year we got 19 of them. So
And I'm sorry, you said you have 19 of them now? Is that what you said?
yep.
Very cool. So I wanted to so that was one thing I was going to ask you. So they marble out and they're finishing the same as a full-size beef. Is the time frame for them to finish any different?
No, that's what I thought. I thought, well, maybe less weight, they're not gonna have to feed as long, but they still take the same amount of time, because the feed to body ratio is still the same compared to the small steers and the big steers.
Okay.
Um, I will say, for me, I have found that the miniatures are actually cost per pound of gain. They're a little cheaper than the big steers for me to do.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, it's funny. When I first started taking animal science classes, we taught when we were talking about finishing out and marbling beef and all of that. They didn't. We never even talked about miniature cattle back then, but we did talk about larger breeds, and so we compared like, moderate frame beef like Angus, Hereford to large frame beef like Holsteins back then. And what they taught us was, and they showed us that a Holstein will marble out just as nicely as a Hereford or as an Angus. But the steaks, by the time they finish and marble out like that, the steaks are just ginormous. They're just way too big to be practical. And that's why there's just not the same type of beef market for that breed. But you're doing it in the other direction, you're solving a problem that I have. So we direct market beef off of our farm down here in Idaho, and I've got that problem oftentimes as well. I don't sell anything smaller than a quarter beef, but even with doing that, the butchers, they only break beef down into halves. And so that means whenever I find somebody who wants to buy a quarter, I've got to find somebody else who not only wants to buy a quarter, but they have to be in agreement with the person they're sharing that half of beef with, because everything's going to be cut the same. So they've both got to decide together how they want it cut up, because they can't have it done their way, unique from the other person. You've solved that problem by going to the smaller animal, which is really, really interesting. That's very innovative.
Thank you. I I did have a lot of help along the way. My advisors have helped me a lot. My parents, um, a lot of help there, and actually, my uncle Reed has helped me a lot too. Just helping, he's really good at marketing,
Mm-hmm.
like that side of the business side. Um, and so he's really good with that, and he's really helped me with the marketing and just like, hey, what would you guys think about this, or what about this, and just it's just been really nice to be able just to call him up and just ask him a question. And there's been a lot of people that have helped me, but it's fun. It really has been, and I really enjoy it.
That is great. Okay, so let me ask you about the business side of it a little bit. So sourcing this beef, you talked about you're buying these steers and you're bringing them in. So you must have a breeder. I mean, how far away is the breeder that you're buying the steers from?
So this year I've actually switched breeders, just because my first couple of years I bought from Carlina Quinn. She was in Glendive, which
Okay.
is only like an hour from Miles City. But this year, since I wanted to, well, I more than doubled in size this year. Um, she didn't have a big enough herd to supply what I was wanting to do. So actually, there was a guy in Big Timber. His name is Nate Ruth.
Okay.
And he had some for sale. He actually calves in the fall and spring.
Okay.
So there's kind of a benefit that I could onto there too. But my neighbor also, he buys from the sales yards all the time, and he came into some miniatures too that are yearlings. So I ended up buying them too, same as Jay Murnian. So I've got 3 that I'll butcher in May, and then the other 16 are in the fall. So.
Okay. So that gives you a market through the spring. That is really interesting. Okay, so Glendive is relatively close. Big Timber, that's a little bit further of a haul for you to go pick up these animals. Now, I've always had this question. So where I'm located now is we're very close to Boise, Idaho. And so we've got this market of a very large metropolitan area in a city with a lot of people who will pay us the extra money to buy direct. We're doing grass-fed and grass-finished on our particular business model, and so they'll pay the extra for that, and they're really close. But where you're at in Miles City, you're in an area that is so agriculturally based. How do you find customers, and how far do you have to go to get customers that are willing to pay you a premium for this direct marketed beef?
So that's where my Uncle Reed has really come into play and really helped me out of a bunch. He's got a lot of friends. His wife is a dentist and she owns the practice and everything. So, and they also have a lot of doctor friends
Mm-hmm.
in Bozeman. So he's really got me in contact with a lot of the customers that I sell to now.
Okay.
And he really has been the big marketing person there to help me with that. Like my grandparents bought from my first year. And I've had a couple people around here buy like the regular size steers and everything, but all 6 of them that I butchered last year went up to Bozeman, and they don't mind paying, or I guess their quality they feel is fine for the prices, just
Mm-hmm.
because like I keep in contact and I send them pictures every now and again, like this is what the steers are doing, this is how much they've gained, just to keep them in contact with their product, and so they know what's going on and how they're growing and fed.
That's great. Man, that's fun. So Bozeman's the exact community I would think of where you could market beef this way. Or I'm in Montana, Missoula, Kalispell, but they're all really far away from you. So with your customers all being there in Bozeman, how does that work in terms of the butcher? Are you having these animals butchered back in Miles City and then taking the cuts and delivering the cuts to people in Bozeman? Or are you going to a butcher in Bozeman and having them pick up from the butcher?
No, I get them butchered here in Miles City. I go to the butcher block. Um, there's a guy, Rocky. He owns it. He has been um, he's very good to work with. I really enjoy working with him. So what I do is just from previous customers, they just use what they had the years past.
Mm-hmm.
And then other customers, I just say, hey, like I don't know a whole lot about the butchering stuff, and that's also what I'm trying to work on is like figuring out what customers want and like how it is cut up and everything. So usually they just call up Rocky, and they really like talking to Rocky. And I've asked them, the customers, about how they like the meat cut and wrapped and everything, and they've all been really happy with how it's been cut and wrapped. So I really enjoy
Okay.
taking mine to Rocky, and he helps support like the 4-H at fair and everything. So I have no problem taking Rocky and everything.
Okay. So let's talk logistics. So this fall, you're going to have 16 butchered, and then you've got to get all that meat to Bozeman and delivered to people while it's still frozen. How are you going to do that?
So this last year with the 6, I had 2,000. Well, actually, I had 5 of them. I had 2,000 pounds of meat to deliver to Bozeman.
Wow.
And my neighbor, Jeff Okerman, let us use. He's got a little bumper hitch trailer
Uh-huh.
that he let us use. It's all enclosed and everything. And this year we might have to make a couple trips to Bozeman, just because I don't think we'll be able to fit 16 miniatures worth of meat in
Yeah.
in that trailer. But um, we ended up buying another freezer this year, so we've got space for meat if we needed to house it and everything. But that's what we usually do is just
Okay.
drive up there.
And how do you keep it froze all the way? How do you keep it from thawing out?
Usually we go on the winter time where it's a little
Okay.
colder, and then it's fine to keep cold. And
So you just wait until the forecast is right, and
Yeah.
and then you can go. Hey, I take advantage. I totally get that. That makes a ton of sense, and it keeps you from having to get like a refrigerated truck or a bunch of coolers or something like that. To me, I mean, if you're in Montana, take advantage of that cold temperature. It makes sense. That is really cool. I'm very happy for you, and this is a really, really fun business. So you mentioned earlier your plans for the future. So you're going to be finishing up your junior year of high school soon. You'll be a senior, and then high school will be over. Where is this all taking you once high school is finished?
Well, I would like to go to college. After that, I really enjoy doing the minis and everything. And if I could just make an income off of doing that, I would 100% do it right after college and everything. But yep, I would. That's all. I have to look into that a little bit
Okay.
more.
Well,
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, your eyes have been opened to this niche and this way of working for yourself, working in agriculture, working in ranching and raising cattle, and you're excited about it, and it's a lot of fun. I know exactly what you mean when you talk about how fun it is. Do you have any ideas where you'll go to college yet?
Nothing is set in stone at the moment. But I'm kind of thinking, they have a community college here, Miles Community College.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of thinking here, just so then my sister doesn't have to do my chores all the time, and I can kind of help with that. And then after those 2 years, probably transfer up to Bozeman. Kim Gibbs is the ag teacher here in Miles City at the college, and she has a very good ag program right now. So I would very much like to take advantage of that. And then Montana State.
Nice. I love it, man. I love it. This is you're my first episode after we hit 1,000, and here you are. You're going to be going to Montana State. I couldn't have planned this any better, and that's exactly what I did. I started off going to a community college and then transferred to Montana State as well, and that worked out for me. So good for you. I'm excited for you, Laney. Before we wrap it up, let's get your advice for other FFA students out there. You kind of saw this problem and researched and found a way to solve it. What advice do you have for other students that might be coming behind you for, I don't know, just not giving up and figuring out a way to solve a problem and serve your customers the way you want to serve them?
Well, for me, I don't know. It was just the fact of trying something new, something, everybody around here has got the big sized cattle and they hear about the minis and they're like, you have what? And it's just, if you're interested in it, I would say 100% go for it. If you are interested in it and willing to do it and have people behind you backing you, it's very much important to have the support behind you. I know I have had the support and I just bounce ideas off of people and like, hey, how's this? But if you have it, get your research in, and if you're really interested in it and you're able to do it and have the materials and everything, I would say go for it. Because for me, I've so much enjoyed it, and I would not regret the decision at all. That I just really have enjoyed it.
That is great. Well, Laney, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us today. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody, and thank you so much to Laney Jones for coming on the Off Farm Income Podcast and sharing all of that information with us today. And hey, we would love it if you would click that subscribe button and become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and we'd also love to have you follow us on all the different social media sites we are on. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, everybody. And until next time, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.